The Viridian Empire ruled vast parts of space. Their ships looked like bright stars moving through the darkness. For thousands of years, they conquered many worlds. Their machines and weapons were so advanced that the people they defeated thought they were gods. Admiral Tak stood tall on his ship, the Celestial Hammer. His blue skin shined under the lights of many screens around him. His armor told stories of his many wins in battle. "Admiral, we found another simple world," said Officer Nari as her fingers moved quickly over the controls. "It's called Earth. Their technology seems different from what we usually see." Tak didn't care much about the report. He had seen countless worlds before. Simple beings always have odd things, but they all surrender in the end. "Get ready to take over as usual." The ship's machines didn't understand what they were seeing from the human colonies. Humans had almost destroyed themselves in terrible wars over resources long ago. After that, they built their technology in new ways that the Viridians had never seen before. Far away on Earth, Commander Park got urgent messages from the outer colonies. Strange ships coming near Proxima Centauri. "We've never seen technology like this before." Park looked at the reports with worry growing inside him. Humans had kept to themselves for many generations after their Great War. They rebuilt their world and made it stronger. Now it seemed they had neighbors in space, and these neighbors didn't look friendly. The Viridian scout ships moved closer to human space. They studied the colonies from far away, taking pictures and scanning for weapons. The Viridians saw cities, farms, and some defense posts. Nothing that worried them. "These humans build oddly," said Nari as she showed Tak the pictures. "Their ships have thick armor, but few weapons we can detect. Probably a primitive race that barely understands space travel," Tak said with a smile. "The celestial records say humans come from a heavy gravity world. They'll be strong but slow." What Tak didn't know was that humans had been watching the Viridian ships since they entered the solar system. Hidden sensors tracked every move they made. On Earth, in a deep underground base, Commander Park called a secret meeting with Earth's leaders. "The aliens are studying us. Based on their ship movements, they're preparing for war, not friendship." "How do you know?" asked one of the leaders. Park showed them the data. "They're mapping our defenses, testing our response times. These are military actions, not peaceful ones." Another leader asked, "Can we win if they attack? How strong are they?" "Their ships use energy we haven't seen before," Park explained. "But they don't know about our phase technology. They think our ships are weak because they can't detect our real weapons." After the near destruction of Earth centuries ago, humans had developed technology that existed partly in another dimension. Their strongest weapons and shields stayed hidden until needed. It made human ships look simple and weak to outside scanners. "We should strike first," suggested one military leader. "No," Park said firmly. "We'll let them make the first move. We'll appear weak and surprised. Then we'll show our true strength when they least expect it." The plan was set. Earth's most powerful warship, the Thunderbolt, would meet the aliens when they arrived. It would look like an ordinary vessel with minimal weapons. Captain Hyun would command it with orders to seem diplomatic but vulnerable. Meanwhile, Admiral Tak prepared his attack fleet. "The humans will make good servants," he told his officers. "Their strong bodies will work well in our mining colonies." The Viridian ships moved toward Earth, their weapons ready. Tak felt the familiar pride of bringing another world under Viridian control. His people had never lost a war. Their technology made them like gods to simple races. As the Viridian fleet approached Earth's outer defenses, Officer Nari noticed something strange. "Admiral, the humans are sending only one ship to meet us. It's moving slowly with shields down." Tak laughed. "Perhaps they come to surrender already. This will be even easier than I thought." Little did he know that the humans were setting a trap. The greatest test of Viridian power was about to begin, and for the first time in their long history of conquest, the self-proclaimed gods would meet their match. The UNS Thunderbolt moved quietly through space toward the meeting point. The human ship looked plain next to the fancy Viridian vessels with their shining hulls and glowing symbols. The alien ships were twice as large, covered in strange markings that told of their many victories. Captain Hyun stood straight on the bridge of her ship. Her face showed no fear as she watched the alien fleet grow larger on the main screen. She had fought in Earth's last war and survived worse days than this. Her dark uniform was simple, with only small rank markers on the collar. "They want to talk to us, Captain," said Lieutenant Kang. His hands didn't shake even though everyone on the bridge felt afraid. This was humanity's first meeting with aliens, and the reports suggested they weren't friendly. "Open the channel," Hyun said calmly. The big screen at the front of the bridge changed to show Admiral Tak. He stood tall with blue skin and eyes that looked down at them. Golden armor covered his chest, and strange symbols glowed on his shoulders. "People of Earth," Tak said in a deep voice that had been quickly translated by computers, "we bring you the great gift of joining the Viridian Empire. If you surrender now, fewer of your people will die during the takeover of your world." The bridge crew looked at each other with worry, but Captain Hyun didn't change her expression. She had expected this. "The United Earth is happy to meet other space travelers," she said in a clear voice. "But we will not give up our freedom. Perhaps we could work together as equals instead." Tak's face showed disgust. He clearly didn't think humans were worth talking to as equals. "Work together? With lesser beings? Your rudeness has been noted." He turned to look at someone they couldn't see on the screen. "Show them our power." Before anyone could react, bright purple beams shot out from the Viridian ships. They cut through two small Earth ships that had come with the Thunderbolt. The escorts exploded immediately, killing everyone on board. Another beam hit the Thunderbolt, making the whole ship shake. Alarms sounded across the bridge. Red emergency lights flashed as smoke filled the air. "Damage report," Hyun called, still standing even as her ship was hit. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. Someone yelled. "Engines damage." Another hit rocked the ship. A control panel exploded, throwing an officer across the room. Even with her ship being torn apart, Captain Hyun stayed calm. "Evasive maneuvers," she ordered. "Retreat to Sierra Point." Lieutenant Kang looked at her with understanding in his eyes. Sierra Point was not a random escape route. It was part of their secret plan. The Thunderbolt turned away from the attack, moving in a way that made it look badly damaged. Air escaped from holes in its hull. Parts of the ship broke off and floated away. It looked like a dying vessel trying desperately to escape. "Look at them run." Admiral Tak laughed on his command ship. "These humans are even weaker than we thought." "Should we finish them, Admiral?" asked Officer Nari, watching the escaping Earth ship. "No," Tak said with a cruel smile. "Let them run. Follow them slowly. They might lead us to something valuable before we destroy them." The Viridian ships followed the Thunderbolt, keeping just close enough to prevent escape, but not attacking again. They enjoyed watching their prey struggle. Inside the damaged Thunderbolt, things were not as bad as they appeared. The ship had special hidden compartments where most of the crew now waited safely. The air leaks were controlled. The falling debris was mostly empty shell pieces designed to make the ship look more damaged than it was. In a sealed command center deep inside the ship, Captain Hyun studied a map of their route. "Are they following?" she asked. "Yes, Captain," replied Kang from his station. "All 7 of their ships are behind us. They're keeping formation just as we hoped." Hyun nodded. "Good. Send the coded signal to home base. Tell them we're bringing guests to the party." The Thunderbolt continued to limp through space, leaking air and trailing broken pieces. From the outside, it looked like a defeated ship making a desperate run for safety. The Viridians followed, sure of their easy victory, unaware they were being led into a carefully planned trap. As they approached an asteroid field, Hyun allowed herself a small smile. "Prepare all hidden systems," she said quietly. "We'll show these self-proclaimed gods what humans can really do." The Viridian ships followed the damaged human vessel into a field of floating rocks. Large and small asteroids drifted everywhere, making it hard to fly straight. The Thunderbolt moved slowly between the rocks, trailing pieces and leaking air. The simple humans ran away, just as we expected, Officer Neri said with a smile as she watched the screens on the Viridian command ship. Admiral Tack nodded, pleased with how easy this was. They try to hide in the rocks, but no one escapes from gods like us. The 7 Viridian warships spread out as they entered the asteroid field. They moved carefully, their purple lights glowing against the dark rocks. They were in no hurry. The human ship was damaged and had nowhere to go. Inside the Thunderbolt, things were changing. Captain Hyun sat in her real command chair, deep in the protected center of the ship. Around her, crew members worked quickly at their stations. The ship wasn't as damaged as it looked from outside. Are all systems ready? Hyun asked. Yes, Captain, Lieutenant Kang replied. All hidden weapons are charged. The fake damage systems are working perfectly. The Viridians think we're almost dead. Hyun nodded and pressed a red button on her command chair. This is Captain Hyun. Operation Thunderclap is a go. I repeat, Operation Thunderclap is green. Her message wasn't just going to her crew. Throughout the asteroid field, something strange began to happen. What looked like normal space rocks suddenly lit up with small blue lights. Some of the larger asteroids split open, revealing weapons and engines inside. They weren't rocks at all, but disguised human battle stations. On the Viridian ships, alarms began to sound. Admiral, Nari called out in surprise. Our sensors are picking up new energy readings. Many new energy readings. Tak rushed to her station and looked at the screen. Where there had only been rocks before, now there were dozens of power signatures appearing all around his ships. What is happening? He demanded. Scan again. But before they could figure it out, the Thunderbolt changed too. The damaged human ship suddenly stopped leaking air. The holes in its hull sealed themselves. Panels that looked broken slid aside to reveal shining weapon ports. The ship turned around with amazing speed, facing the surprised Viridians. That's impossible, whispered Neri. Their engines were destroyed. Admiral Tak stared at the screen in shock. This is some kind of trick. All around the asteroid field, the disguised human stations powered up their weapons. The Thunderbolt's entire outer shell seemed to change, transforming from a damaged transport into a powerful warship. Captain Hyun opened a communication channel that broadcast to all the Viridian ships at once. Her calm face appeared on their screens. You think different means weaker, she said. That's the mistake all false gods make. Tak's blue face darkened with anger. All ships, destroy that vessel immediately. The Viridian ships fired their energy weapons, purple beams cutting through space toward the Thunderbolt. But the beams hit some kind of invisible barrier and bent away, missing the human ship completely. Our weapons aren't working, Neri shouted. The Thunderbolt fired first. Strange missiles shot out from its sides. They didn't look powerful, just small metal objects hurrying through space. The Viridians weren't worried. Their shields could stop any physical attack. But these weren't normal missiles. They passed right through the Viridian shields as if the shields weren't even there. They hit 3 Viridian ships and exploded with bright white light. At the same time, the hidden stations in the asteroids activated strange devices. The space around the Viridian ships seemed to bend and twist. It was like the fabric of space itself was attacking them. What is this weapon? Tak shouted as his ship shook violently. 3 Viridian ships were caught in the strange twisting space. Their hulls bent inward as if giant hands were crushing them. Metal screamed, energy cores overloaded, and then they simply collapsed into balls of twisted metal and light. In moments, half the Viridian fleet was destroyed. The remaining ships tried to fire back or escape, but the human weapons were everywhere. On the Thunderbolt's bridge, Captain Hyun watched calmly. Phase 2, she ordered. New weapons emerged from the human ship. These fired beams of blue light that cut through Viridian armor like it was paper. Another Viridian ship exploded, "Admiral, we must retreat," Nari begged as their ship rocked from another hit. Admiral Tech couldn't believe what was happening. His divine fleet was being destroyed by what he had thought were simple primitives. How could they have technology that made his best weapons useless? "This is impossible," he said as he watched another of his ships die. "We are the Viridians. We are gods to simple races like these." "Not gods." Captain Hen's voice came through again. "Just visitors who didn't bother to knock politely." The trap had worked perfectly. The humans had lured the overconfident Viridians into a killing field, and now they were teaching them a painful lesson about underestimating primitive species. What had started as a simple mission to conquer another weak world had turned into a nightmare for the Viridians. Their ships were exploding one after another. The asteroid field that was supposed to be their hunting ground had become their trap. The Thunderbolt moved like no ship Admiral Tak had ever seen. It seemed to predict where Viridian weapons would fire before they fired them. When purple energy beams hit the human ship, its strange hull simply absorbed the power and glowed slightly. "This can't be happening," Officer Neri shouted as the screens showed another Viridian cruiser breaking apart. "Their technology can't be better than ours. We are the most advanced beings in the galaxy." All around them, their proud fleet was being destroyed. The hidden human weapons platforms in the asteroids kept firing gravity weapons that crushed Viridian ships like empty cans. The Thunderbolt's missiles passed through their best shields as if they weren't there. Admiral Tech's hands shook as he watched his divine fleet die. His blue skin had turned pale with fear. For the first time in his long life, he felt something he had never felt before: the cold touch of defeat. "All remaining ships," he called out, his voice breaking. "Full retreat. Return to the Empire at once. We must warn." But he couldn't finish his order. The main screen showed something impossible. The Thunderbolt, which had been firing from 500,000 miles away, suddenly appeared directly above his command ship. It hadn't flown there. It had simply disappeared from one place and reappeared in another, as if it had folded space itself. "How?" whispered Nari, staring at the screen in disbelief. "No one can do that. No one." The human ship now hung over them like a dark cloud. It was close enough that they could see every detail of its hull. Weapons ports opened all along its side, each one aimed directly at Tak's ship. Every screen, every communication device, and every personal tablet on the Viridian ships suddenly showed the same image: Captain Hyun's calm face. "Your ships are disabled," she said in a voice that was not loud but somehow filled with power. "Your weapons are offline. You claim to be gods, but I see you bleeding. Gods don't bleed." Tak looked around his bridge. It was true. Several of his officers had been injured when their ship was hit. Blue blood stained the floor and control panels. They were not gods. They were just beings who could be hurt and killed like any others. "Return to your empire," Captain Hyun continued. "Take this message with you. Humanity wants peace, but we will not be conquered. We have lived through our own wars. We know the cost of violence. We do not wish to destroy you, but we will defend ourselves." The screens went dark. A moment later, the Thunderbolt vanished again, reappearing a safe distance away. Tak looked at his damaged fleet. Of the 7 mighty warships that had entered the asteroid field, only 3 remained, and they were badly damaged. Hundreds of his people were dead. Their divine mission had failed completely. "Admiral," Nari said quietly, "what do we do now?" Tak had no answer. How could he return home in defeat? No Viridian fleet had ever lost a battle against a lesser race. It was unthinkable. But he had no choice. "Set course for home," he said, his voice hollow. "We must tell the High Council what happened here." The journey home was long and quiet. The damaged Viridian ships limped through space, their crews silent with shame. They had gone to conquer gods, and instead had been humbled. When they finally reached the Viridian homeworld, the news of their defeat had somehow arrived before them. The recordings of the battle had been broadcast across Viridian space. Every citizen had seen the mighty fleet destroyed by human weapons. In the Grand Chamber, the highest place in Viridian society, the High Council gathered to watch the full battle recording. 12 ancient Viridians sat in golden chairs arranged in a circle. For thousands of years, they had ruled based on the belief that they were divine beings, superior to all other life. As they watched humans defeat their best ships with technology, the Viridians couldn't understand. Their faces showed shock and fear. "How can this be?" asked the oldest council member, his voice shaking. "The holy books say we are the most advanced beings in creation. They say all others must bow to us." "The holy books were wrong," said another council member, speaking the words no one had ever dared say before. Across the Viridian Empire, from the central worlds to the farthest colonies, the news spread quickly. Their fleet had been defeated. Their best technology had failed. The beings they had conquered and ruled for centuries began to whisper among themselves. If humans could defeat the Viridians, perhaps they were not gods after all. The foundation of their entire society, the belief in their divine right to rule, had begun to crack. And through those cracks, doubt began to flow like water, washing away certainty and leaving questions in its place. The thunderbolt flew through Earth's skies 3 weeks after the battle. People gathered in big crowds to watch it land. The ship that had defeated the alien invaders came home as a hero. Captain Hyun walked down the ramp with her crew behind her. They looked tired but proud. Cameras flashed all around them. The world wanted to see the people who had protected Earth from its first alien threat. Commander Park was waiting for them. He shook Hyun's hand as she stepped onto Earth soil. "Welcome home, Captain," he said. "Your mission was a success." Later, in a private meeting room, Hyun gave her full report. She showed videos of the battle and explained how the trap had worked. "The Viridians weren't ready for our phase technology," she said. "They thought their shields were perfect, but our weapons exist partly in another dimension. That's why they passed right through." Park nodded. "Do you think they'll come back with better weapons?" "They'll be back," Hyun said, "but not as fighters. They'll come as talkers next time. We showed them that trying to fight us doesn't work." She was right. But before the Viridians could return, something unexpected happened. 3 months after the battle, a strange ship entered Earth space. It wasn't Viridian. It belonged to a race called the Arathi. The Arathi looked like tall, thin people with skin that changed colors to match their feelings. They had been ruled by the Viridians for over 300 years. When they heard that humans had defeated their masters, they came to Earth hoping for help. Minister Jin met with the Arathi leaders in the new Earth Space Center. The aliens bowed low to show respect. "We thank you for seeing us," said the Arathi leader. "News of your victory over the Viridians has given hope to many worlds." Jin smiled kindly at the visitors. "We didn't want to fight," she explained. "Humans spent centuries fighting each other. We learned that war only brings pain. We only wished to live in peace." "That is all we wish too," said the Arathi. "For too long, the Viridians have taken our resources and treated us like animals. Perhaps now we can work together for a better future." Over the next year, ships from 12 different alien species visited Earth. All had suffered under Viridian rule. They'd brought gifts and asked for friendship. Earth welcomed them all. Meanwhile, on the Viridian homeworld, big changes were happening. The defeat by humans had shaken their society deeply. For the first time, people were questioning the old beliefs. Young scholar Sokju led this new thinking. He had always secretly doubted the idea that Viridians were gods. Now he spoke openly in public squares. If gods can be beaten in battle, he told the crowds that gathered to hear him, then maybe we were never gods at all. Maybe we are just one kind of people among many in this big universe. At first, the old leaders tried to silence him. But too many Viridians had seen the battle recordings. Too many had lost family members in the defeat. They were ready to listen to new ideas. When Sokju spoke, his crowds grew larger each day. Soon, millions of Viridians were calling for change. They wanted to meet other species as equals, not as masters. 1 year after the battle, the first official meeting between humans and Viridians took place on a neutral space station. Admiral Tak was there, now older and humbler than before. Captain Hyun represented Earth. "We come to talk about peace," Tak said, avoiding Hyun's eyes. It was hard for him to face the person who had defeated him. "Peace is what we always wanted," Hyun replied. The talks went well. Earth would help the Viridians learn to live with other species as partners, not rulers. In return, the Viridians would share some of their technology. 2 years later, representatives from 27 species met on Earth to form the first Galactic Council. It was a new way for different worlds to work together and solve problems. Captain Hyun, now Admiral Hyun, watched the ceremony from a window high above. Lieutenant Kang stood beside her. "It's amazing how much has changed," Kang said. "One battle changed the way the whole galaxy works." Han nodded. "Those who think they are gods sometimes need to be reminded they are not. Not by destroying them, but by showing them a better way. And those who never wanted to be gods," Kang added, "sometimes become something better, teachers of how to live together." As they watched, the leaders of many worlds shook hands and signed the first galactic peace agreement. A new age was beginning, not built on fighting and ruling others, but on working together. And humans, who had once almost destroyed themselves, were now helping to build this new peace.